Well, for obvious reasons, not entirely removed from some associated happenings in Rivers State, it seems like a very good time to remind ourselves of the Niger Delta Presidential Amnesty Program, popularly known with the acronym PAP. Let me put this conversation, my first conversation, in proper context. Most Nigerians recall how things were in the Niger Delta region with armed agitators blowing up oil facilities and kidnapping expatriates for ransom back in the day. Well, all of that have subsided with the, or rather did subside, with the proclamation of amnesty by the then Yar'Adua administration. Thus, an area once defined by unrest and underdevelopment, that is the Niger Delta, began, scripting a new narrative, one of transformation and hope. The Presidential Amnesty Office, not office, program, I beg your pardon, remains in the center of this change, this transformative change that we're talking about. But with recent events, it would be sad to see an erosion of the gains of this bold initiative that has collaboratively helped in healing a region scarred by conflict and unlocking its vast human potential. But let me bring in my guest at this point. She is a Niger Delta activist in her own right. My guest is Princess Priye Angbare, President, Niger Delta Youth Association for Peace Initiative Forum. Welcome to the program.
Welcome. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much. Is it okay if I call you Priya, or should I just stick to Princess? Would Princess be okay?
It's okay, no problems.
Well, fantastic. Well, I think we should begin with something generic. I already highlighted, the background of our conversation, so I'll just push forward with your evaluation of the efficacy of, the PAP, that's the Presidential Amnesty Program, whether it's the vocational training, whether it's the empowerment initiatives for young persons or for women or for young men, whether it's the educational program. But looking at all these as response or as responsive mechanisms to the needs of the region over time, but more especially or more particularly in the last couple of years. What's your evaluation of the program so far and so well? Especially, again, how it has helped beneficiaries in securing sustainable livelihoods.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Hinamde. Based on what you said, I think you've given us some brief illustration concerning the Presidential Amnesty Program. Yeah, the Presidential Amnesty Program was established to restore peace and and stability in the Niger Delta region by the then president, late Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, in the year 2009. And the program has three components, which is the disarming, the demobilization, and the reintegration of ex-militants into the society. Since inception of the program, we've had several administrators. And the recent administrator is Dr. Dennis Brutu Otuaro, PhD, who was appointed by President Tinubu last year. Talking about the development strides of his administrator, Dennis Brutu Otuaro is a scholar, a PhD holder, who is an embodiment of the Niger Delta struggle, and he knows what the people of Niger Delta are passing through. And in the area of education, which I will be focused more, because education is development, education is freedom, education is knowledge, education is the only fastest way you can use to correct societal abnormalities. In terms of education in the Niger Delta region, we all know that we from the region, in terms of education, before the program, we were backward. But because of this program, we've made an improvement.
Significant strides.
We have made significant strides, thank you. From the previous administrators to this one, Dennis Brutu Otuaro, he has done well in terms of education. Like the recent administrator came in and moved.
So before his time, are you saying or insinuating that before his time, there was no progress at all?
And there was progress, but with what is happening now, with his own time,
You're saying more progress?
Yes, his leadership has deliberately demonstrated progress and development across the Niger Delta region?
Because I know a bit about that program myself, and I can tell you that even as you've referenced already, it has largely, substantially contributed to peace and stability of the region. And this is further demonstrated, going by some of, the interventions that was seen, of course, through the Presidential Amnesty Program since 2009, like you again said. And some of these programs have permeated young persons, women, men, whether it's by giving them startup kits and all of that. I know that you want to focus on education more, but I wanted us to start more generically, expansively. But since you want to talk about education, let's double down on the issue of education.
Okay.
Great. So tell me, in terms of education and some of what you've seen so far, in terms of, how it has translated, education has translated into employability in the region, what do you have to say in terms of that? Our beneficiaries, and again, our beneficiaries are able to actively contribute, to the development of the Niger Delta region, after beneficiaries of the education program now. Do you say that over time they have been able to contribute their own quota to the development of the region? Well, coming from the fact that they have gained or gleaned a lot from the region or from this empowerment initiative.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Hinamdi. In terms of education concerning the Presidential Amnesty Program, the people from the region, they've gained massively, even if not 100%, but to an extent, because we all know what happened. Recently, the program since inception had PhD, and recently the PhD was removed from the program. And there's no parents that will not be happy that his or her child in any institution. But for somebody to come and say that PhD was a waste of resources and remove it from the program, that was a misplaced priority. But this man came in, Dr. Dennis Butu-Otuaro came in, and he reinstated PhD back to the program. And not only the PhD back, the recent deployment of students concerning the Presidential Amnesty Program, more than 2,000 students were deployed offshore and offshore. So that is a plus to the region. And
on the basis of merit?
Yes, on the basis of merit across the region. And then concerning the vocational training, the youths are being empowered because the program, like I said earlier, it has 3 components. And the disarming, demobilizing, and the reintegration of ex-agitators into the society. Concerning the vocational training, most of them have been trained and they've given them starter pack. And some of them too that have not been given, they are going to give them. In terms of women empowerment for the women in the region, across the region, for them to have something to do. Then in terms of the maritime sector, I think 98 cadets from the maritime sector. Recently, that is one of his key achievements. That is to grow up the blue economy. I think it's a plus to Nigeria, our nation, not only the region. Then 4 pilots, engineers to study in South African, and then also engaging, like in terms of security, engaging critical stakeholders across the region. Because, like I mentioned earlier, the program was established to restore peace and stability across the Niger Delta region. And Dr. Dennis Butu-Otuaro knew that if there's a crisis, it cannot do anything. So he has engaged the key stakeholders. Recently, he was in Bayelsa. He engaged with the first phase generals, the second phase, and the third phase. They held critical meetings to work in synergy. That is to foster peace and development across the region. Because if there is no peace, nothing will happen. There will be no development. Even the deployment of students won't go well, because anywhere there is crisis, even investors cannot come. But because of his initiative, by engaging with the critical stakeholders like the traditional rulers across the nation, there was peace and stability across the Niger Delta region.
So you've talked about quite a bit here in response to my second question. In fact, you talked about collaborative efforts. Tell me about this, or talk some more about this, especially in terms of how the program has co-opted, whether it's traditional rulers, whether it's elder statesmen in the region, whether it's the private sector, collaboratively in sustaining peace, and stability around the region. How has this played out under Dr. Dennis Otuaro's leadership?
Thank you, Mr. Hinamde. Well, I will not bring back what has passed, but I will only focus on the recent development in our region. In terms of peace and stability, he has done extremely well, because one thing about the man, he gives listening ear. I know before now there were some lapses, but when they brought it to him, he had to okay, let me do the needful, because he wants the program to be taken to a splendid dimension. So he had to go to Bayelsa recently, like I mentioned earlier, to meet with the first phase generals, the second phase, and the third phase.
Okay.
Doing this one is to bring peace in the region, because without those people, that is one of the good decision, one of the good steps he took by meeting them, because these people are part of the struggle, and you cannot deviate from these people. You need to align with them. So what he does, he went there and met with them and discussed with them, and they all came together. They were very happy that yes, our God came and met with us. And I think with what happened in Yenagua recently, the peace is going to be stable, because the program is all about...
What happened in Yenagua recently?
I mean, when he went to Yenagua to engage with the first phase general, second phase, and the third phase. It has never been like this, where even the first phase generals will come and
Is he also engaging them now at this critical time? Because yes, we saw a remarkable decline in the activities of militant groups in the Niger Delta over time. But now, right now, at this critical, are we on the verge of a resurgence based on what we are hearing and seeing? It's out there in the public domain. Some of the explosions that we're hearing about. I must say, there are no reports at the moment yet linking any of the explosions to any group, in the Niger Delta. But is there a possibility that we're on the verge of a resurgence? I mean, is this also part of what because apparently you seem to work with Dr. Otuaro, so you might be able to know one or two things that we do not know. Is he already on the ground right now, whether it's in Bayelsa, whether it's in Rivers?
I'm not working with him.
Okay, great. So, but what have you heard? Do you think at this point that the PAP should be hands-on, especially with regards to what is happening right now and the tension in the Niger Delta? Should PAP be hands-on in quelling simmering tension, in stopping the prospect or possibility of a resurgence?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Hinamde. What we are saying, those are just mere media threats. They say the blue pipeline, this one is happening, is a lie. There's nothing of such. Right, recently, the Tantita...
No, there are explosions, as a matter of fact. I'm saying there are no reports linking it to any group yet. But there are explosions.
This explosion, I don't think is because of the PAP. I don't think it's because of the Presidential Amnesty Program. This explosion recently is just because of the political witch-hunting in Rivers State. We don't know who are the people masterminding it, but I don't think it's with is related to the Presidential Amnesty Program,
or
because
to ex-militants or armed agitators involved in the program.
Yeah, these ex-militants you talk about, we have the first
ex-agitators, yes.
We have the first phase, the second phase, and the third phase. And we know the leaders, we know the people. So different people will come, they are from the region. Even the ones that are not from the region, everybody wants to talk, everybody wants to do things, everybody wants to say, if they don't give us listening here, we are going to do that. Those things are normal. Those are normal things that people should expect. But it doesn't mean that because they are saying it is happening. Sometimes they do this thing based on recognition. They want them also to be recognized, to be carried along. To them, they are not being carried along, so they have to come up with their own strategies. Because recently, the coordinator by also said Tantita Security. I'm not here to talk about Tantita, but I just want to tell you that Engage, I think recently they carried out like a research, going around the terrain in Bayelsa State, meeting with the host communities. And the riverine area, recently we've not really had any report like sea piracy or kidnapping. Those things are not related to the program, the presidential amnesty program. People are just threatening, saying all those things, but we've not really seen.
Okay.
There is no evidence to that.
Well, let's say for now we'll KIV and we'll monitor the situation. But let's conclude on this note, and I'm talking about the issue of sustainability, especially the peace process there in the Niger Delta, essentially. I mean, what measures do you think, when you bring in the presidential amnesty program and you consider all that it has achieved so far, what measures do you think should be put in place to ensure sustainability of the peace building efforts of PAP, whether it's in the trainings, whether it's in the empowerment, what else would you like to see happen with the program, particularly as the former amnesty timeline progresses?
Thank you, Mr. Hinamde. What I would want to recommend, I would say like just what I mentioned earlier concerning the reinstatement of the PhD program, and also the vocational training, more areas. They should escalate to more areas. The vocational training is broad. It's not specific to one direction. I think they should come up with different strategies to curb unemployment and to eradicate poverty in the region. I think that is what I would recommend.
Thank you so much, Princess Priye Agbare. Did I get that right? Agbare?
Princess Priye Agbare. You're not pronouncing the M. Agbare.
Okay. Agbare. Perfect. President, Niger Delta Youth Association for Peace Initiative Forum. I'd like to thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure having you on Inside. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.